Hello guys, today we're going to be taking a look at a game called StarVaders. This is a game I found on the latest Steam sale. Not really sure why I wanted to pick it up initially, but it's this really cool looking indie game. The art style seemed like it was really popping from the store page, and when I was going through the description, it was mentioning that it's got cards and mechs and that it was a roguelike, and those are all like things I really like. So I was like, what the hell? So I decided to buy it. And now we're going to go take a look at it and kind of just see how it is. So when we first boot up the game, we're shown a very bright and sort of retro looking title screen. And then from there, we can choose if we want to play a full length tutorial or a short one. So I decided to go with the full length one because I figured I was probably going to need the extra help. And I was just kind of curious to see what the game was like. So after a brief story snippet, we're dropped into our first game. Now, the whole point of the game is essentially not to let your opponents get to the bottom 3 rows of the game board. Each time they do, they gain something called a doom point. And if they get 5 total doom points, you actually will lose the game. It's kind of like the game over. Each turn, you get to draw 5 cards, and you could use those 5 cards to do like things you would kind of expect to do, right? So you can use them to move your mech, you can use them to attack enemies, that sort of thing. Now, there's also an interesting mechanic called heat. Basically, each card requires, or I should say generates, a certain amount of heat points. And what happens is if you have too many heat points, your turn will automatically end, and then on your next turn, one of your cards will be unusable. It's kind of like the card got burnt up. Additionally, if an enemy attacks you, you don't lose life like you would in the traditional sense. Like there's no health bar or anything. Instead, you'd gain a useless junk card on your next turn, and a junk card literally does nothing. So it takes up a valuable card slot. So you don't really want to have any of those if you can help it. There's also a really cool mechanic called rewind that does exactly what it sounds like. It lets you rewind your turn, and you could do this if you make a mistake or maybe just want to redo part of your strategy. The catch with rewind is there's only a limited amount of times you can use it in any given act. So like in the tutorial act I was playing, you had a total of 3 times you can use it. After that, you can't do it anymore until you defeat the boss and enter in the next act, which then it kind of like resets. Anyway, after we get through that battle, we got to have a reward at the end of it, which in this case was a loot box, which gave us a choice of a random card. So after we pick our reward, we get sent back to a menu screen of sorts that kind of lets us choose our next mission, and we also get a preview of what those rewards will be depending on the mission that we choose. So I chose the Sky Valley Invasion mission since it said I got an upgrade point for completing it, and I was kind of assuming like any card battler roguelike type thing, it would let me upgrade a card. So during the mission, we got a chance to try out our new card that we earned. And this card sent the bullet upwards and then had it split off to the sides. And this ended up doing some pretty impressive damage and also helped kind of like with crowd control for the enemies. Now, we ended up winning the match, and sure enough, the upgrade point did let us upgrade one of our cards. So I chose to upgrade the movement card to take away the heat that it generated. After that, we got an artifact and we're free to choose our next mission. So I decided to choose the Polaria event because I wanted to see if we can get our hands on the rare card that the game was showing us. Now, the biggest difference between this match and the last 2 matches were there were a lot more enemies on the board. It still wasn't difficult, it still felt pretty beginner friendly for the tutorial, but there was definitely more of them. Anyway, soon enough we were able to get our new rare card, which was Hellfire. Hellfire is pretty cool because it lets us send bullets to columns over our head for each heat point that we have generated. So after that, we then get to visit Min's workshop, and Min was kind of like giving me some gremlin vibes, so she was like already becoming one of my favorite NPCs. Anyway, there was a little thing on the table that you could tip her 1,000 coins. I decided to do that just to see if anything would happen. Nothing did. I'm assuming if you donate enough, something would happen, but at the moment we're a little too broke to find that out. Anyway, I then bought a bundle that came with 2 cards, and the effects were pretty cool. Essentially what the card did is that if they killed an enemy, then they would let you play the most expensive card in your hand for free, and that just felt like it was going to come in really handy later. And finally, it was time for the boss battle. The battle was pretty fun, and it was nice being able to try out all the cards and upgrades that I had gotten up to this point. It took me about 20 to 30 minutes to get here, but it was pretty apparent that the game had a really good battle loot, repeat, and then push forward cycle. And it was nice because each reward that you got at the end really felt meaningful, and each battle felt a little bit harder than the last, so it kind of like kept pushing me to like want to keep playing and keep going to see how far I can go. So after we successfully defeated the boss and claimed our reward, we got moved into Act 2, and while I was on the menu, I just really started to like appreciate the music. Like, it's just so good. Like, while I was writing the script in between missions and stuff, I was kind of just like letting it play in the background, and it's really catchy, really soothing. Like, just take a listen to it for a little bit. I then proceeded into our next battle, and yeah, honestly, I was in for a pretty rude awakening. There were a lot more enemies, and they were a lot more aggressive. I did try to win. I did try my best here, but yeah, I ended up losing. But after the mech was kind of like destroyed and we got like the quote-unquote game over screen, we got another story snippet, and then that then sent us to the main menu where we got to like choose a character for our next run, and then I got a little Steam achievement saying that I completed the tutorial. So all in all, it was a pretty kick-ass like tutorial. It was pretty fun. So after that, I decided to turn off the recorder and kind of like stop playing. But honestly, I really like how the game lets you choose different characters as you unlock them. So each run will feel more different than the last. I'm honestly really excited to see like how each character changes things up. It kind of reminds me of Slay the Spire in that sense, and that game is incredible. And so I love that about this, and also the story does genuinely seem pretty cool, so I'm curious to see where that's going to go to. Ultimately though, guys, I think StarVaders is really fun. It's really polished, and at least based on my like limited like 40 minutes or so of playing, it is worth picking up. It is worth trying if you're into like card battlers or roguelikes or that sort of thing. Also, the game wasn't super expensive. I picked it up on sale for like $19, and full price it's only like $24, so definitely worth checking out if you're into that sort of thing. That is it for this video though, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider hitting the thumbs up button or subscribing if you want to see more videos like this. And if you guys have played StarVaders or you have any game recommendations or anything like that, go ahead, drop a comment down below, take a look at it, and we'll see what we can do. But until then, guys, take care, and I will see you next time.